My husband slapped me in front of his entire family on Thanksgiving. But then my daughter, Emma, stepped forward with her tablet and said 5 words that silenced the whole room, and made my husband's face go white with terror. The sound echoed through the dining room like a gunshot. The sharp sting burned across my cheek as I stumbled backward, my hand instinctively flying to the red Maxwell blooming across my face. The Thanksgiving turkey sat forgotten on the table as 12 pairs of eyes stared at me, some shocked, others satisfied, all silent. My husband, Maxwell, stood over me, his hands still raised, chest heaving with rage. "Don't you ever embarrass me in front of my family again?" He snarled, his voice dripping with venom. His mother smirked from her chair. His brother chuckled under his breath. His sister rolled her eyes, as if I deserved it. But then from the corner of the room came a voice so small yet so sharp, it could cut through steel. "Daddy." Every head turned toward my 9-year-old daughter, Emma, who stood by the window with her tablet clutched against her chest. Her dark eyes, so much like mine, held something that made the air in the room shift, something that made Maxwell's confidence near falter. "You shouldn't have done that," she said, her voice steady and eerily calm for a child, because now Grandpa is going to see the color drained from Maxwell's face. His family exchanged confused glances, but I saw something else creeping into their expressions, a flicker of fear they couldn't yet name. "What are you talking about?" Maxwell demanded, but his voice cracked. Emma tilted her head, studying him with the intensity of a scientist examining a specimen. "I've been recording you, Daddy, everything for weeks, and I sent it all to Grandpa this morning." The silence that followed was deafening. Maxwell's family began to shift uncomfortably in their chairs, suddenly understanding that something had gone terribly, irreversibly wrong. "He said, to tell you," Emma continued, her small voice, carrying the weight of impending doom, "that he's on his way." And that's when they started to pale. That's when the begging began. 3 hours earlier, I had been standing in the same kitchen, methodically basting the turkey while my hands shook with exhaustion. The bruise on my ribs from last week's lesson still ached with every movement, but I couldn't let it show, not with Maxwell's family coming over, not when any sign of weakness would be seen as ammunition. "Thelma, where the hell are my good shoes?" Maxwell's voice boomed from upstairs, and I flinched despite myself. "In the closet, honey, left side, bottom shelf," I called back, my voice, carefully modulated to avoid triggering another explosion. Emma sat at the kitchen counter, supposedly doing homework, but I knew she was watching me. She always watched now, those intelligent eyes missing nothing. At 9 years old, she had learned to read the warning signs better than I had. The set of Maxwell's shoulders when he walked through the door the particular way, he cleared his throat before launching into a tirade, the dangerous quiet that preceded his worst moments. "Mom," she said softly, not looking up from her math worksheet, "are you okay?" The question hit me like a physical blow. How many times had she asked me that? How many times had I lied and said yes, everything was fine? Daddy was just stressed. Adults sometimes disagreed, but it didn't mean anything. "I'm fine, sweetheart." I whispered, the lie bitter on my tongue. Emma's pencil stilled. "No, you're not." Before I could respond, Maxwell's heavy footsteps thundered down the stairs. "Thelma, the house looks like garbage. My mother is going to be here in an hour, and you can't even." He stopped mid-sentence when he saw Emma watching him for a brief moment. Something that might have been shame flickered across his features, but it was gone so quickly I might have imagined it. "Emma, go to your room," he said, tersely. "But Dad, I'm doing homework like you now." Emma gathered her book slowly, deliberately. As she passed by me, she squeezed my hand, a tiny gesture of solidarity that nearly broke my heart. At the kitchen doorway, she paused and looked back at Maxwell. "Be nice to Mom," she said simply. Maxwell's jaw tightened. "Excuse me, she's been cooking all day, even though she's tired, so just be nice." The audacity of a 9-year-old standing up to her father left Maxwell momentarily speechless, but I saw the dangerous flash in his eyes, the way his hands clenched into fists. "Emma, go," I said, quickly, trying to defuse the situation. She nodded and disappeared upstairs, but not before I caught the determined set of her jaw, so much like my father's when he was preparing for battle. "That kid is getting too mouthy," Maxwell muttered, turning his attention back to me. "You're raising her to be disrespectful." "She's just protective," I said carefully. "She doesn't like seeing what." His voice dropped to that dangerous whisper that made my blood run cold. "Are you telling her stories about us?" "Thelma, no." "Maxwell, I would never, because if you are, if poisoning my daughter against me, there will be consequences." His daughter, as if I had no claim to the child I'd carried for 9 months, nursed through every illness, held through every nightmare. The doorbell rang, saving me from having to respond. Maxwell straightened his tie and transformed instantly into the charming husband and son his family knew and loved. The switch was so seamless, it was terrifying. "Showtime," he said with a cold smile. "Remember, we're the perfect family." Maxwell's family descended on our home like a swarm of well-dressed locusts, each carrying their own arsenal of passive-aggressive comments and thinly veiled insults. His mother, Jasmine, swept in first, her critical gaze immediately scanning the house for flaws. "Oh, Thelma, dear," she said in that syrupy tone that dripped with condescension, "you've done something with the decorations." How rustic. I'd spent 3 days perfecting those decorations. Maxwell's brother Kevin arrived with his wife, Melissa, both sporting designer clothes and superior smirks. "Smells good in here," Kevin said, then added under his breath, For once, the real barb came from Maxwell's sister Florence, who made a show of hugging me while whispering, "You look tired. Thelma, are you not sleeping?" "Well?" Maxwell always says stressed wives age faster. I forced a smile and nodded, playing my role in this twisted theater. But I noticed Emma standing in the doorway, her tablet in her hands, those sharp eyes cataloging every slight, every cruel comment, every moment her father failed to defend me throughout dinner. The pattern continued. Maxwell basked in his family's attention while they systematically diminished me with surgical precision. "Thelma has always been so simple," Jasmine said, while cutting her turkey, "not much education. You know, Maxwell really married down, but he's such a good man for taking care of her." Maxwell didn't contradict her. He never did. "Remember when Thelma tried to go back to school?" Florence laughed. "What was it, nursing?" Maxwell had to put his foot down.